Welcome to the Supreme Lending Dallas Show, where you'll be introduced to different speakers on different topics, and you'll meet different guests for each of our episodes. Let's get started.
Hi, my name is Liz Evans, host of the Supreme Lending Dallas Show, and I want to welcome today's guests. That's Matt Arnold and Justin Arnold, owners of CPG Claypaul Insurance. Guys, go ahead and say hello.
Hi, Liz. Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you very much.
Hi, Liz. Very great to be here.
Thanks you, and thank you for being here. So we have quite a few questions on homeowners insurance, and especially with our storm that's happened and we get the tornadoes. Viewers out there want to know what's covered in homeowners insurance. So one of the first questions one of our viewers are asking is, how do I know if I'm fully covered if someone is injured in my home?
Well, I'll take that. So the liability section of a home insurance policy is very important. So, and that ranges anywhere from there's $100,000 worth of coverage up to $500,000. And what liability does, it protects injuries to people in your home. So if someone comes to your house, Liz, and they fall and get hurt, you can access, first off, medical on your home insurance to help with their injuries. And if they have bad injuries and then you get sued and you're found at fault because of their injuries, your liability will pay for any kind of attorney fees. And if there's a judgment against you, then the liability section will also protect you as well on that. So the medical protects for the medical bills, and the liability protects you if you are found at fault on that.
Wow, that's a great question. Yes. So thank you out there for posting that question for us. And why do homeowners need flood insurance?
Flood insurance, it's really, sometimes some people are required to have flood insurance if their house is in a floodplain. But even if you're not in a floodplain, it's always good to have flood insurance. It's more protection in case there's a major storm and there's rising water that ends up going into your house. That's going to be flood protection. So whether really you're in a floodplain or you're not, it's always good to have the extra protection. And flood generally is inexpensive. If you're not in a floodplain, it's inexpensive coverage to have flood. So if you're in a floodplain, it could kind of be expensive, but in general, it's just good to have flood protection no matter what.
Oh.
And one thing I want to add to that is we do get the question a lot about, am I covered for flood? Does my home insurance policy have flood protection? The answer is no on that. Home insurance covers for the accidental discharge of water, so a burst of water is not flood. Flood is always a separate policy that you have to buy. So your discharge of water is a burst of water in your house, so water heater or something like that. But flood is always rising water. So it's always a separate policy you have to buy. So we do get that a lot as a question. So it's good to point out.
Okay, thank you, Justin. And does a homeowner need an umbrella policy? And for those viewers that don't know what an umbrella policy is, what is it?
So an umbrella policy, so liability, you have liability protection on your home, and for that matter on your car insurance as well. So on your home, for example, you have an underlying limit anywhere from $100,000 to $500,000. So for example, that same person that falls in maybe your home and maybe they have bad injuries and they get an attorney, things like that. Umbrellas are usually bought in a $1 million policy. And so that adds on top of the liability already on your home policy. So for example, if that person gets hurt, they sue you for $1 million. Well, that $500,000 is not enough on your home policy. So at that point, once that's exhausted, your liability, the umbrella will kick in at that point. And they're really good policies. They're inexpensive to buy. And the liability protection, those are potential for big claims. And umbrellas they're inexpensive and great policies to get. So that's how that works.
And really on the liability of the umbrellas, everybody should really have one. It's really like Justin was saying, they're really inexpensive, and the liability portion is going to be the most important part of your home insurance policy, because those are the life-changing events. The liability, if you ever get sued for a big amount of money, those will be life-changing events. So we always encourage all of our customers to really purchase an umbrella policy. So
Okay, thank you. And I also want to mention that one of our account executives, Elise Humana, is not able to be with us today, but her information is up on the screen. If you have questions, if you're interested in getting homeowners insurance, then please contact Elise, and she's more than happy to assist you in any way that she can. And then we have another question that's come in. How does a homeowner's insurance different from renter's insurance, and does a renter need renter's insurance?
So the difference in that, so on a home policy, for example, on my home policy, it covers the house itself, the actual structure itself. And so on a renter's policy, if I'm going to go rent a house, renter's policies are very inexpensive and it just covers the contents in the house. So if you're a renter, you don't own the house, so you don't need to have a policy that covers the house. The landlord will have their own policy. So those usually run around, anywhere from $250 to $400 a year. So they're inexpensive, but it covers just the contents that you own in the house that you are a tenant in. So you're renting the house, that covers your contents.
Okay.
How that works.
Do you want to add anything?
Yeah, also too, the renters, the liability also comes on the renters too, on the renters policy. So, if you are renting a house, and of course you have your contents, like Justin was saying, covered, but the liability portion is also on your renter's policy. So if somebody comes in that house and they get hurt, you get sued, you have liability protection on that renter's policy also. So,
and one more point, back to the liability part, it is important. People with dogs, it's very important on that. Pools, very important.
Well, good point.
Yeah, pools,
Yes.
But dog bites happen all the time. So the umbrellas, they bite someone's child and they're injured badly. The liability in an umbrella and that would be great to have. And again, they're always great to have, but those particular circumstances that Matthew said, pools, there's injuries that can happen there. So it's very important.
Okay, and you mentioned dogs. So on renter's insurance, can you have any kind of dog?
You can. So if you have an aggressive breed dog and you are getting insurance, whether it's a home policy or a renter's policy, it's always good to ask your agent and disclose that to them. Hey, I have a pit bull or whatever it might be, because the agent is going to have to find the appropriate company to put your insurance with. Not every company is going to write that. So that's good for, as an independent agent like we are, we have multiple companies that we can write through. And so we'll need to search for the appropriate company for that.
And so the viewers are welcome to contact you and ask you any of the questions.
Absolutely.
What phone number can they reach you at?
Our local number, 817-656-2320, and be happy to answer any questions you might have.
and I think the main thing for viewers too is to notice on home insurance policies, they really need to understand what they're buying whenever they buy a home insurance policy. Because there's car insurance and home insurance. Car insurance, all the companies out there, basically they're going to sell the same policy. So but when it comes to home insurance, all these different insurance companies out there, they sell different policies. So when someone's purchasing a home insurance policy, the price may seem really, really attractive to them. But if they have a $50,000 claim and that company who sold the policy is only going to cover $10,000 in your water damage, well, then all of a sudden that policy is not so appealing. So in these winter storms we just had, I'm sure people who are filing these claims had a lot of surprises whether it was they got denied or they have a $50,000 claim and all of a sudden they only cover for $5,000. So I think that's the main thing that I was want to express to people. You really need to know what you're purchasing in case we have something like this that just happened.
Okay, and so you did mention water damage. So what will insurance cover for water damage?
So the accidental burst of water in frozen pipes, but any kind of accidental burst of water with a plumbing pipe behind your walls, that's going to be covered on your home insurance policy. Also, the sewer backup. So if something gets clogged in your plumbing pipes, that's also covered. So when you have rising water from a storm, again, that's flood insurance, like we talked about. So that's covered on another policy. But any kind of accidental burst of water is going to be covered on the home policy.
And you do want to make sure on the water coverage is very important, of course. You want to see how much coverage you do have. These companies all have different limits that they're going to provide on a claim. So it's good to ask, how much water coverage do I have? So that's very important as well.
So.
Okay, great
And that's up to the agent also to educate the buyer. The buyer, a lot of time, the customer doesn't know what to ask.
Right.
It's up to the customer to know, but also up to the agent to educate the customer on what they're buying. So it's on both
and
sides.
That's why you're here,
Sure.
to educate those viewers
It
out
is.
there with these questions that keep coming in.
It is, yes. That's especially here in Texas, just because we write in 12 or 13 states. Home insurance policies here in Texas is going to be a lot different than home insurance in Arizona. There is no really weather. It's just nice and sunny in Arizona. Here, you have all types of weather. So that's why it's just very important to really know what you're buying when you purchase it.
Okay, and so you did mention Arizona. So what we have up on the screen now is a list of states that you're in currently, and then the ones that are coming soon, those states, because our next question is, are natural disasters, acts of God, covered by homeowners insurance, such as hurricanes, tornadoes, lightning storms?
Yeah, those are going to be just additional perils that your home insurance policy is going to cover. So whether it's fire, wind, any kind of a water loss or hail, so those are all going to be covered on a policy. So and you do again need to watch what type of policy that you get. Deductibles apply and different things like that. So just a lot of different questions. And again, the agent does need to educate the person purchasing the policy to know exactly what they're getting. But yes, those are covered under any kind of policies.
Especially in the certain states, because I know that you're licensed also in the state of California where there's earthquakes. So someone may need different insurance in California than they do in Texas or Florida, correct?
That's exactly right. That's why being an independent agent like ourselves, we have so many options. So if you're going to go to California where they have earthquakes, Oklahoma where they have tornadoes, Texas where they have pretty much all the above except for earthquakes. We have some earthquakes too, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Not as severe.
Not as severe,
Right.
I guess. So, but yeah, it's nice being an independent agent like ourselves. We just have lots of options, and we can always, I guess, cater a policy to whatever that customer needs. And in the end, everybody wants a good price too, and we can always, due to our options of companies, we can always find everything they need for a great price too. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so as we come to the close of our episode today, are there any last words or comments that either one of you would like to make to the audience?
I think just we've been in business for, I guess, 12 years. And this last storm that we had, it was the winter storm. It was kind of an eye-opener for, I think, a lot of people out there in the general public, as well as ourselves and our agents at our office. I know we've said that people need to know what they're purchasing, but I think it means we need to be better on our end as well. We want to educate our customers and just really work hard to try to find them the best policy available with the best company at the best price. That's what everybody wants, and that's what we want to do. So I think that's what we kind of took away from that storm, because we saw a lot of stories people coming in with these just bad stories, all
Really
these
bad.
huge claims. And when the insurance company comes in, and the insurance companies really responded very, very good.
A lot of people were surprised at the coverages they have. They got calls wanting new policies from other companies that didn't know what they had. And so we would kind of step in for that customer and rewrite them another policy because the other agent did not explain to them what they had. So again, back to that, just not always going for the cheapest bare bones policy, but trying to get a good price. But the coverage is the main thing on that, and being properly covered, just because that's what insurance is for on that. So
Okay. Guys, thank you so much. Matt Arnold and Justin Arnold, CPG Insurance. We want to thank you for being with us today on today's episode on Homeowners Insurance, and have a blessed day.